And we're back today with another video. Welcome to the channel. My name is Gabe the Great. If you like basketball, we talk all things basketball on this channel, and not just the NBA. We cover the WNBA, AAU, college basketball, and we like to have great conversations about the game of basketball. So if you like that, you're gonna like this channel. I'm gonna need you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And today we're gonna be doing a 2019 WNBA season recap for people who don't watch the WNBA. Now what I've done is I've taken this nice little chart right here so that you can understand exactly where every team ranks in the WNBA, and so that you can better understand what to look out for next season. Now, before you go down in the comment section and say, Gabe, nobody cares about the WNBA, just remember you were the dirty little incel that clicked on the video. So, let's get started. First up, the Atlanta Dream. This team is trash. Like, hot trash. Hot doo-doo, garbage, trash. This team is bad in many ways. This team was dead last in field goals made, field goals percentage, three-point percentage, offensive ratings, points per game, and they only had one person shoot over 40% on the team. Now, in their defense, their best player, Angel McCourty, was out all season long with an injury. Angel McCourty is one of the top 10 players in the WNBA, but nonetheless, it just goes to show you that even in basketball, you can't just have one great player and think you're gonna do something. You gotta build out that whole roster. Now, I do like their coach, and I think when Angel get back, she will be good. Maybe not be as great as she once was, but this team definitely gets a trash rating. Next up, the Chicago Sky. Now, you can't talk about the Chicago Sky without talking about their all-star point guard, Courtney Vandersloot. I think most would consider her the best point guard in the WNBA. For the second straight season, she broke her own record of having the most assists in a WNBA season. Now, Vandersloot is not alone. The Chicago Sky have 3 all-stars in Vandersloot, Allie Quigley, and Diamond DeShields. And Allie Quigley is the current WNBA three-point champion.
So get your facts straight.
They also have the coach of the year, and if it wasn't for this lucky shot right here, they might have found themselves in the conference finals. So the Chicago Sky is definitely one of the great teams in the WNBA. On to the Connecticut Sun. Now, the Connecticut Sun was this close from winning a WNBA championship before losing to the Mystics in Game 5. Now, you can't talk about the Connecticut Sun without talking about defense. They have Jonquel Jones, who led the league this year in rebounding and blocks, and she was named to the first team all-defensive team. Her teammates Jasmine Thomas and Alyssa Thomas was also named to the first team all-defense, and we definitely saw an amazing year from Courtney Williams. Now, last offseason, Connecticut traded Chiney her. And due to that trade, in this year's WNBA draft, they hold the 10th and 11th pick. Now, the 2020 WNBA draft class is going to be really loaded, so expect this team to continue to be great in 2021. No, 2020. Yeah, 2020. Next up, the Dallas Wings. Orike Ogunbowale. Now, I said it the day that she was drafted, in my opinion, this is going to be the best offensive player in the WNBA. She gave Dallas fans many reasons to be optimistic about the future, but this is not about the future, this is about the present. And right now, this team is not good. Now, though Orike is good, she is no Skylar Diggins, and Skylar Diggins Smith did miss this entire year because she had a baby. Congratulations to Skylar and her family. Also, we know that Liz Cambage kind of forced her way out of Dallas, and so that was another big hole to fill as well. Now, due to the Cambage trade, the Wings do have the number 2 overall pick in next year's draft, which I said is going to be very deep. So like I said, the future is very optimistic for the Dallas Wings, but in 2019, this team is bad. Now let's talk about the Indiana Fever. Now, the Indiana Fever is like the best worst team in the NBA. Like, they're bad, but like they're like the best bad team. They're like the Sacramento Kings of the WNBA. They went 8-2 against teams that found themselves in the lottery this offseason, but they went 5-19 against teams that actually made the playoffs. Now, you gotta understand that this team is in rebuild mode, but a great feel-good story in the WNBA was when undrafted Erica Wheeler not only became an All-Star, but she was voted the All-Star MVP at the 2019 WNBA All-Star Game. They also have Tiara McCohen, who led the WNBA in rebound percentage, but nonetheless, with this team, you can't help but go, they're still pretty bad. Now let's talk about the Las Vegas Aces. Now the Las Vegas Aces came into this season as a lot of people's favorite to win the championship. After all, the Aces come into the season with the last 3 #1 picks of the WNBA draft. Hey WNBA, you think you want to change your draft lottery system? Now this is also one of the more fun teams to watch in the WNBAs. A lot of star power on this team, including Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, and this year's #1 pick, Jackie Wilson. Of course, the big offseason acquisition was none other than Liz Cambage, which they got in a trade from the Dallas Wings. Now this team was very good. They led the league in percentage of field goals assisted on and on free throw rates, and they were also second in pace and in percentage of points scored in the paint. This was good enough to get them to 21 wins, and they ended up in the conference finals where they eventually lost to the eventual champion Washington Mystics. But there is no doubt that this is one of the great teams in the WNBA. Next up, the Los Angeles Sparks. Look, y'all niggas need to get it together. Now I'm just joking, but the general manager did say that to them in the locker room after a game. No joke, the general manager was just fired for using the N-word after trying to give the team a speech after a tough loss. But the Los Angeles Sparks are always a good team, and this year they made the playoffs for the 19th time in 23 years. The biggest problem with this team is their head coach, Derek Fisher, but we could have told you he was going to be the biggest problem on the team before you hired him. Derek Fisher had a year where he had a bunch of questionable lineups and questionable decision making, and those questionable coaching decisions came to a head in Game 3 of the playoffs when Derek Fisher decided to sit Chelsea Gray, Candace Parker, and Nneka Onwubuike. Bro, I am never going to get these Nigerians' name right. I'm sorry. It's just one day, maybe. But basically, he sat their entire starters at the beginning of the 4th quarter when they were trying to come back in the game. Candace Parker seemed very displeased with that decision after that game, after only playing limited minutes while she was healthy. Now, Candace Parker did have a down year, but that was mostly due to injuries. Again, if you get Derek Fisher off this roster, this will be one of the NBA greats. I got Matt Barnes' phone number. If you need me to call him up, we can make this thing happen. But nonetheless, the LA Sparks are a good team in the WNBA. Moving on to the Minnesota Lynx. Now you gotta give it up to Cheryl Reeves, who did win the Executive of the Year because, man, she had to flip this roster. Maya Moore, aka the GOAT, decided to sit out this season due to personal reasons. Lindsay Whalen, their starting point guard, went to coach in college, and Rebecca Brunson, one of their best interior players, never showed up to the team. But Cheryl Reeves got in her My GM bag and got Odyssey Sims from the Sparks, Lexi Brown from Connecticut, and used the first-round draft pick to get the Rookie of the Year, Nefasia Collier. Did I get that name right? I don't know if I got that name right. Now, with an entirely flipped roster, you got exactly what you thought out of this team. Pretty alright. They were okay in everything, not great in anything, but pretty bad when it came to turnovers. It was good enough for an 18-16 record, and they got to the playoffs, but lost in the first round. But this team does look pretty solid and something to build upon. If the GOAT comes back next year, this is going to be a nice team. But for right now, they're pretty okay. Moving on to New York, let's talk about the Liberty. Now, the New York Liberty are basically the New York Knicks of the WNBA, which means they're trash. They had the worst defense in the league, and their best player, Tina Charles, may be past her prime, as this season she averaged her lowest points per game since her rookie year. Now the good news is that they do have another all-star on the roster in Kia Nurse, and Asia Durr, their first round draft pick from this past year, seem to have progressed pretty well this season. But the best news for the New York Liberty, unlike the New York Knicks, they can actually get the #1 overall draft pick. And the best player in women's college basketball right now is Sabrina Ionescu. Look, I live here in Eugene, and I've had the pleasure to watch this young lady play for the past 4 years. She is by far the best player in college basketball. Statistically speaking, she's the best player in college basketball, men or women's. I believe she has more triple doubles than anybody, men or women, all time. And I expect that this season she's going to do even better. And the good news is that James Dolan no longer owns the New York Liberty, which hopefully means they won't make a stupid draft selection and do the right thing and take Sabrina. But nonetheless, this team is basura. Hey, low-key, I had a really good roll right there with my basura. That was good. I've been working on it. It's good. Now on to Phoenix, where we got to talk about the Mercury. Now the Phoenix Mercury probably had a season of what could have been, because during the entire 2019 campaign, they dealt with injuries. At one point, they only had 6 active women on their roster. Now, even with the injury-laden team, they still managed to go 15-19, which was good enough for a spot in the playoffs, but they got beat in the first round. Now, the other GOAT, Diana Taurasi, only played 6 games this year, but let me tell you, her 6 games were horrendous. She averaged only 4 points and shot 10% from the field and 4% from the 3-point line. I didn't even know that was possible. Now again, she was out most of the year with an injury, so we're going to give the other GOAT a pass. But DeWanna Bonner also had a down year, as she shot under 28% from the 3-point line. But even though they made the playoffs, I'm going to go ahead and say that this was a bad team in the WNBA for the 2019 season. Now the defending champions, the Seattle Storm. The Seattle Storm came into 2019 as the defending WNBA champs. But last year's MVP, Breanna Stewart, ruptured her Achilles in the final game of the EuroLeague Championship, causing her to miss the entire 2019 season. After that, Sue Bird also had to have knee surgery. So if this team would have been bad, nobody really would have said anything. But it turns out that they had a pretty good season. Natasha Howard emerged as an MVP candidate, as well as winning Defensive Player of the Year. Joining her on the all-defensive team was Jordan Canada and Alicia Clark. Now, Alicia Clark is your poster child for a 3-and-D player in the WNBA, as she led the league in 3-point percentage. So this team was a top 5 defensive team in the league, and they were able to make the playoffs. So even without Breanna Stewart and Sue Bird, this was still one of the really good teams in the WNBA in 2019. And finally, the Washington Mystics. Very simple, they won the championship. They were the best team in the league. Now, they were not only the best team in the league this year, historically, they are one of the best WNBA teams ever. They set a record for the most 3-pointers made by a WNBA team, as well as having the best offensive rating in WNBA history. Elena Delle Donne was named this season's MVP, and she was the first woman to join the 50-40-90 club, shooting 50% from the field, 40% from the 3-point line, and over 90% from the free throw line. Now, what a lot of people don't know about Elena Delle Donne is that she was battling a knee injury, a broken nose, 3 herniated discs in her back, and she has a constant battle with Lyme disease. So this 2019 season was spectacular for her, and it couldn't have gone any better. Very proud for her and the Washington Mystics. Now this team is loaded with talent everywhere. You have Christy Tolliver, Ariel Powers, Natasha Cloud, and Emma Meeseman. I think I said that right the first time. Meeseman, right? I got that one. Very simply put, they got the best player on the best team, and they won the championship, making them the best team in the WNBA. And that's going to do it today for your 2019 WNBA recap for people like you who don't watch the WNBA. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a like down below. Like I said, we do basketball stuff on this video. We have a vlog. I'm a high school coach, and we will be vlogging our season, so be sure to check those out. There'll be a card somewhere up here. I don't really know how the angle's gonna work, but it's gonna be in one of these 2 corners, okay? Hey, remember, like the video if you like it, subscribe if you're new, be great, be grateful. I'll see you next time. Peace. Enrique Abumbagwala. Man, I cannot pronounce these last names. I'll tell you that much. Agumbawale. Enrique Agumbawale. Enrique Agumbawale. Enrique Agumbawale. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I got it.